Hey. Hello YouTube, it is December 8th, 2010, and it is a very historic day for space today. Today, a private company called SpaceX launched their second Falcon 9 rocket, which had their Dragon capsule on top, and the entire mission was a complete success. SpaceX is a company started and owned by a guy named Elon Musk. He made his fortune. He's the guy who invented PayPal, and with that money he started a company called Tesla Motors. He also started a company called Solar City. Well, not started, but he's like on the board and like the CEO. But SpaceX is a company that he started in 2001, 2002 to be a private space company, to have their own rockets and their own spaceships and all sorts of stuff. They started off with their Falcon 1 rocket. They had a little bit of trouble getting it off the ground the first couple times. In fact, the first 3 attempts to launch the Falcon 1 were a disaster. They were unsuccessful. They did not get to orbit. But the 4th launch that they did was successful. It did get to orbit. And so they did one more launch of the Falcon 1, which delivered a satellite for Malaysia, I believe. They have now retired the Falcon 1, and they're going to come out with a new and improved Falcon 1 called the Falcon 1E. It's going to have a little bit more capability. In fact, it's almost double. But their second rocket they have is the Falcon 9. They launched their first Falcon 9 this year, back in June, and it was a success. And it had a like a dummy capsule on top of it. Since then, they've done engine tests, and they've done a parachute drop test with the Dragon capsule, and a bunch of other things. And they got their FAA license to have their capsule return from orbit and recover it and all that sort of stuff. It's the first private company ever to be able to do that. And today they launched their rocket early in the morning. It was great because everything that they wanted to accomplish, they accomplished, as well as some other bonus accomplishments. They really have an awesome system. And the second stage on the first launch, when it separated from the first stage and ignited its engine, it did like a weird spin and did this roll in orbit. It was a success, and they still got to orbit, but they weren't planning on that roll. This time there was no roll, and it was complete perfect trajectory and perfect burn and all that. And then the Dragon capsule successfully separated from that second stage to do its mission in orbit. The whole reason that they're even doing all this is because of a NASA program called COTS. Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Mike. So I want to talk about why I think space is important and why I like it so much. To quote Star Trek, space is the final frontier. Now that we've kind of gone everywhere that we can, at least on land, you know, we still have the oceans as the next, I think, frontier here on Earth. Other than that, I mean, the next great frontier is space. And there's so many amazing places out there, and so many amazing places right here in our own solar system. There's so many places that we could expand to and make colonies on that we wouldn't need to go to any other star system for a long, long time. But what I want to do with these episodes is I want to talk about the history of space. And the way that we are able to get to space right now is with rocket technology. Rocket technology started with the Chinese. And it was different invaders, starting with Alexander, who first witnessed, you know, their technology and brought it back with them. And eventually the Mongols used that technology to conquer pretty much the whole known world at the time. The Arabs started developing the technology a little bit further, and some cool ways for the rockets to be more effective and to go a little bit further. Hundreds of years later, in the 1800s actually, a British dude named William Congreve advanced the technology a little bit further and made it so that it could go much farther. There were minor upgrades that were made through the years until the late 1800s, when a Russian named Konstantin Tsiolkovsky made a lot of advancements, and he was the one who really, it was a lot of his ideas and writings that inspired some science fiction at the time. And there was an American named Robert Goddard who really picked up on where Konstantin Tsiolkovsky left off. And he, unlike Tsiolkovsky, actually made bigger designs. Like Tsiolkovsky designed like the engine and did a couple tests, but he never actually built a rocket that he actually launched, whereas Robert Goddard did. And he made lots of different advancements. In fact, he is considered, after Tsiolkovsky, the father of modern rocketry. In Germany especially, there was a large group of people who started a society and put out a magazine named Die Rocket that were based off of Goddard's ideas. Let me backtrack a little bit. Tsiolkovsky was at the late 1800s. Robert Goddard was after the turn of the century, you know, starting around like 1914, going all the way into the 30s. And it was in the 1920s and 30s that this German society started up. And one of the big guys who was really influential in that group was a scientist named Hermann Oberth. And Oberth invented and designed a lot of the upgrades that they were making in motor designs and different nozzle shapes. And he taught and inspired a very well-known scientist named Wernher von Braun. He had a series of rockets called the Aggregat series of rockets. His rocket, his Aggregat number 4 actually, was later named the V2. Anyway, that's enough for today, because I've talked about quite a few different things that all deserve their own stories and get a little bit more into the technical details, but I can't do that because I'm about at my time limit. So I'm going to have more space history episodes and more on current news, and please comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.